Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and excited, Schlegs. It is a Monday. We got no Lathan today, but that's all right. He's got a lot of stuff going on this week. We had a huge show, obviously, on Friday with Jack. They had a big deal with student appreciation, silver bullets. We'll talk about the progression of the quarterbacks, where everybody thinks that's going, because honestly, I've tried to tell the folks, Schlegs, everyone thought, oh, it's Julian. How's the quarterback going to look? I go, listen, Julian Sain's a really talented player. I'm not sitting here telling you he's not going to be the quarterback, but I'm also not going to not tell you that it couldn't be Lincoln Keenholz as well. And honestly, like even Tavian St. Clair looks good at times. So it's not about necessarily how good your good is. It's how bad is your bad. And honestly, what is your downside sometimes? So a lot of stuff to get to today. A lot of stuff going on. I will say this. I want to start the show with this, Schlegs. My youngest son, Caleb, my second grader, this is like my last go through. And I was sitting there on Sunday watching him play basketball and thinking, man, it wasn't very long ago that I was coaching my oldest son, RJ, who is now a freshman, who is going to be a sophomore and getting his temps here in a couple months. And I was like, man, I remember coaching him in second grade. And now my last dude's coming through, and we finished up our little rec league up at Columbus Parks and Rec, and we did like a tournament. And we're on 10 foot now. And like, oh gosh, I mean, it's like these kids are going to be playing for real. And the one thing I always say, Schlegs, and you always talk about it too, like attitude and effort in sports, especially if you're athletic, go a long way when you're young and you're willing to play really hard. Pat, I threw it in the chat. This is my dude, and I was a little proud. I want to brag on him. This was the end of the first half. They were playing one of the other Upper Arlington teams. The score is 8-5. Real barn burner, Schlegs, at the end of the first half. This is my little dude, Caleb. He's in the gold here, so I wanted to throw this out.
Stanky leg. You gotta do like a stanky leg.
Oh yeah.
Go, go.
Ah! Tying it up, 8-all before half. He ended up getting another bucket. They ended up winning that game, Schlegs, in dramatic fashion, 14-11. So real high scoring, potent attack. Out there, we were playing in Pickerington. I'm like, man, this is some of the worst ball. But the game before that, he had like 16, bunch of steals. And I go, buddy, just go grab the ball from people. Like, if they're going to like just leave it out there for you, the hungry dog's got to eat. Like, just go get it, race them down the court, and try to put it in the bucket. And he did that. And I'm sitting there looking like, man, this is wild. That this is it. And people are like, oh, is your son out there? And I took some pictures with people and some different things. It was awesome. We played a team from Logan, Schlegs. We played a team from like Ross County. It was like Waverly, Logan Elm, I think some Unionota, Chillicothe. And then there was a team from Portsmouth and two teams from Arlington. That was like the 5-team little tournament bracket. I was like, this is great. And it was a lot of fun. I got smoked in the championship by the team from Ross County. They had two really good players. It was 27-10, and it didn't even feel that close at times. But just going through it all, and like it's a reminder like how fast time goes, and all of a sudden now it's like the draft is almost here. And as we were talking to Jack Sawyer about that last week, of what that ultimately looked like for him, and what his what his days are, and getting ready to go. And it's now been almost like 4 months, almost 3.5 months since that national championship. And we talked about guys getting the stuff out of there, Caleb Downs' comments on everything. But want to start off on Monday here with it, after bragging on my little boy Caleb a little bit, the Lincoln Keenholz and Julian Sain debate.
Yeah.
Because I think this is really important. And everybody thought when Julian Sain came here that Ryan Day promised him some starting job. He was a highly recruited guy from California. He goes to Alabama. Nick Saban retires. Bill O'Brien is here. He kind of went to there before because of Bill O'Brien, and then Bill O'Brien comes here, so he goes here. Poof, David Copperfield. Bill O'Brien leaves after he gets here, goes to BC, but he obviously stays. He loves Ryan. The culture here wants to be developed, but I think people thought it was a foregone conclusion, and he throws a pretty ball. People talk about how the ball jumps off his hand and all these different things, but I've said this. I met with Lincoln Keenholz, helped recruit him, bring him here, watching his physical development over the last couple of years. And he's the only guy, Schlegs, that has like a lot of active game reps, for better or for worse. I mean, he was out there with that firing squad, and we can get into what that meant in the Cotton Bowl and everything. Dylan Davis was out there at practice threw this out here. He said, hard to deny that Lincoln Keenholz is easily having the best day of the Buckeye QBs. Just threw an absolute dime, 45 yards to Carnell Tate for a TD in the last section. Looks pretty good. And we'll get into all this. There are days where Lincoln hasn't looked good. There's days where Julian's look better. There's days where they go back and forth. And there's a lot of times Schlegs where they're wildly inconsistent. But I just think it was ironic that on a day where it was open to God and everybody, the students are there. You got roosters down there, with slinging chicken, all the delicious stuff, the student appreciation, the media's in there. And man, like Lincoln made some really nice throws.
Yeah, I mean, Bob, here's the thing. One, it's maturity. Lincoln physically looks the part, and I think Julian is growing into that. Like that was even last year. It's like, could you go over Will Howard? And no, the answer is no. He just doesn't have the physical stature yet to be able to do it. We're also talking about the Ohio State University and the quarterback position, and what are you looking for? Like the beauty is they're going to continue to battle. This battle is going to go all the way to training camp. Like, and that honestly, guys, that's what you want because competition breeds excellence. And on a day where everybody's kind of there, you have one of the better days. Like that's good. That's a confidence builder. But again, consistency wins. Work works, right? And the more consistent that you can be, the better. Now, here's the other thing too with this. As these quarterbacks see more of the defense, what do you want to see? More productivity. And now the defense has already kind of really been in, Bob. Like we talked about last week, it's probably 75, 85% in. Yeah. There's some subtle nuances and there's some checks and there's some other things that we could tag on the defenses. But the base defense and the premise of what this defense does, that's very different than not very different, but a little bit different than what they did before. As you get more familiar with it, and most importantly, as your offensive line starts to gel together, they'll allow you to be able to go through your progressions and make your reads so you can actually deliver a ball. All those things start to manifest into being able to have a great day. When you have a quarterback battle like they have right now going on at Ohio State, the one thing that is the hardest to do is when you get the good reps with the good offensive line, and again, as the offensive line gets better and the two deep and everything starts to even itself out, you have to capitalize on your opportunity there. Because we've seen it, Bob, and there was times even back when we played and there was Troy and Justin, the ones that had the better offensive line going against that particular defense were the ones that were able to actually they look really good, but then they get with the other offensive line, the guy didn't even have time to throw the football. And that's hard as a coach when you're trying to, compare apples to apples. It's also who are they with? Take out that wide receiver room. That's just loaded all the time. But really the ability to stand up in the pocket, go through your progressions, read and deliver a strike, a lot of that is predicated upon the protection that you have with a defense that, though not veteran, are able to play fast because, as you mentioned many times, the defense is always ahead of the curve every time during spring football and camp. It's just the way it is.
Absolutely. And so they're trying to figure this out. That's the one thing now for the quarterbacks, like Julian saying, Lincoln Keenholz. I can say, Tavian St. Clair and throw him in here as well. You have more now Schlegs on your plate.
Yeah.
And so it's not just, your base stuff and you're getting some of the third down, you got red zone, you've got 2 minute, you've got all these different situations that you've got to deal with. So you have more inputs that you have to work with. And so as you're watching these guys, it's like, okay, what are we doing? They're trying to figure out their everything that's going on and trying to process this stuff in their mind and what that all is going to be and what that's going to look like. And so that's a lot that you have to internalize as far as what are you doing? What is the line doing? What are the receivers doing? Like, who are the receivers that are in there? How do I throw it to them? What's my relationship with these guys? Like, who are those pieces? But then, like you said, on the other side of that, the defense has more in as well. So not only is it you've got more stuff that you're trying to learn, on the other side, you have more things that you're now going against. So it's almost like an exponential deal. It's not 1 + 1 or it's 2 + 2 or 3 + 3. It's more like, well, now it's 1 × 1, then it's 2 × 2. So it's 1, then it's 4. Well, now it's 3 × 3. So now we're at 9 and we're putting something else in. It's 4. And then the defense is putting something else in. That's 4. Now it's 4 × 4. So it's, it's 16. And so we're starting to jump up the square tree here as we're doing this. So there's a lot more things. And so it comes down to a couple of elements. Number one, you've got to be able to throw the football.
Yeah.
All these guys can throw the football. And, talking with some of the guys who are out there who have seen it, when you see it every day, Schlegs, it's tough. And I watch a lot of the defense. And then when I do, how I watch the quarterbacks is I'm watching the defense and I know what the coverage is, and I'm watching these guys uniquely, and then where the ball should be going.
Yeah.
And so, okay, boom, it should be getting there. Then I look like what was the pressure look like? What was the situation they had to get the ball out with? But then how did that ball come in? Did it get to where it needed to go in an accurate manner? Did they miss the read? Did they get the read right? And maybe it was just a little off. Last year there were some times where you'd see some balls that were bad. I mean, there's some worm burners, and you're missing some easy slants and some easy access throws that weren't accurate. The accuracy hasn't been as much. Guys have been inaccurate, don't get me wrong. But with that, like, it seems like most of the reads have been pretty good. And there has been some inaccuracy, but something that's maybe a little high, or it's not quite where it needs to be, as opposed to just a bad throw. And so there haven't been a lot of those bad throws. And so those are kind of the elements. And so I'm watching, it's like, okay, they're in a single high cover 3. The ball should be going into the seam right here, or it should be going, weak because you got single coverage basically on the backside. Now they're in some sort of 2 shell. Boom, let's go work the front side, probably the slot. They're in a man concept, whether it's 2-man or Robert, like, here's how they should work this, and there's where the ball should be going. And then you see, like, whoa, that was a nice throw. And then I snap my head back. Okay, that was 3, that was 10, that was 9, whoever it was, and like process it like that. And so I would tell, like, I like to work like it's like working backward from seeing what happened and then ultimately what it was. And so I want to ask you this, and maybe we'll put a pin in this, because I don't know, like, experience. It's a very inexperienced room.
Yep.
Okay, Julian's never played. I mean, he got in a little bit last year. Tavian's just getting in from high school. And
Yep.
so obviously he's got a pretty steep mountain that he's going to have to climb. And then Lincoln has played some. And, like, I want to talk to you about that experience piece. How much does that matter? Is that something that can overcome it? So we'll get into that here, Schlegs, coming up next. But first, I want to tell everybody about our friends over at X Sport. Parents, athletes, protect what matters most with X Sport mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes and designed by NHL team dentists. X Sport mouth guards, they're scientifically tested to help absorb those high impact shots to protect both your teeth and your grill. X Sport, they've got 3 layers of advanced protection, including the patented use of carbon fiber that they 3D print that thing right to your grill for more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication, so you can focus on the game, not on the gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit xsportguards.com/Bobby to save 15% on your order. Spring sports are coming. Make sure you get it, whether it's lacrosse, who knows what else you got going on. Heck, you wear them in baseball. No one wants to get hit in the grill and lose all those teeth. Help protect yourself with X Sport. More on the Lincoln Keynotes Julian Saying debate coming up next. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And listen, we love it. We appreciate all of the comments you guys leave. So please subscribe, leave comments, share it, whatever you can do to help. We always appreciate that. So we're going to keep giving you some great content, get some more players out here, and get some current guys hopefully here coming up as well. But Schlegs, last 2 years ago in the 2020, I guess, 3 Cotton Bowl, because I think it was before New Year's, go down there. Devin Brown's supposed to play. He gets hurt pretty early. Lincoln Keynotes is thrust into the fire. I don't think he ever anticipated playing significantly in that game. And I don't know if he was fully ready. He'd probably tell you that he wasn't. And judging by his play, it probably looked like he wasn't fully prepared to be able to do that. But that experience, like in the firing squad with the live bullets, what does that do to you as a player, and especially as a quarterback? How does that change you? Does it give you a leg up in these situations? Like, what does that mean? Or does it benefit you at all?
I think it does benefit you, not like tremendously, but I think it benefits you in the fact that you've been thrust onto the stage in front of all of Buckeye Nation, in front of the nation, playing in a Cotton Bowl, um, losing in that game. And you also got to remember there was a lot of variables from the offensive line. Right. And again, I told you, like, you can only do what you can do if you're constantly back there, like running for your life, not able to step up into a throw. Like, you got some issues. We didn't run the ball very effectively in that game. There was a lot of things offensively that just went sideways. I remember after that game, everybody's calling for Justin Fry's job, much like they did at the beginning of the year about recruitment. And what does he do? He just goes ahead and band-aids together a national championship, offensive line, right? And So there's a lot of variables in that situation. And that's where it comes with, fits and opportunity, Bob. And that was an opportunity. The opportunity didn't go necessarily as you planned. Like we all manifest, hey, man, if I get thrown in this game, like I'm just going to go out there and deal or do what I got to do. But that was an offense that came off of, a quarterback that ended up leaving, right? So now Darren Brown's thrust in the myth. And what does that offense look like compared to like, what is it that I do well? And here we go. Buckle up, Buttercup. Let's make it happen. Doesn't go as accordingly to plan. Then here's where I think the best thing is that happened for both of them is Will Howard emerges and comes into the building. And you also have Devin that's still there. There's a lot of like side nuggets that you can get from a Devin Brown, guys. Um, but I think them being able to watch what made Will special, the fact that you had a guy that came in there with a 61% completion percentage that ended up having the all-time record at Ohio State, what that development looks like, how we went from day one to day 360 and change. You know what I'm saying? Because he came here right at the beginning of in January and stayed a little after, right, because of the season. So it's like, what did he do? How did his presence impact the team to just be that guy? How did he, carry himself and handle his business within the Woody and within the position room and with the the unit room as an offense? Those are all things that you got to take away. So now I had not only that, I had a year of learning it. So boom, still throwing a wrench. We didn't talk about this the last time, Bob. You're also learning a slightly different offensive playbook.
Yeah.
Your coordinator that was Chip Kelly that was there before, he's gone, right? Ryan Day was there with Brian, but like it looks different because you also got Tyler Bowen and Coach Bailey like doing some of their things, and that's a little bit different. So now we're in this quarterback battle. The good thing with both of them is that the playing field is even. It's about what you do with this opportunity moving forward. And that was the thing that I remember Brady talking about this, Bob. It was, hey, man, it's not worried about where you are on the depth chart. It's about worrying about handling your business. So the best 2 reps, like when you give me my reps, they're going to be the best reps possible, as though they were the Super Bowl. Like who in the building is preparing that way? That's the mindset that allows you to win a job. That's the mindset that allows you to win games. That's the mindset that allows you to win championships. And really, to me, it was that growth from the trials and tribulations of, a Cotton Bowl, a year where I got to watch a battle with Will Howard and Devin Brown, how Devin Brown handled himself as the backup and still cheered on his teammates, and how did that look within the program and also in the unit room, how Will developed, and those things that I can carry on to, instill in myself to allow me to be able to put the best foot forward for my team to potentially win a position. I think there's a lot there that goes into it, and that's the beauty that is athletics.
Absolutely. And so like going back to this, one of the things, Ryan, Thursday, the quarterbacks, they livened him up a little bit,
They did. They went and ran.
And it's good. You got that black jersey. It's like, boom, because you got to find out about guys at some point in time, Schlegs, can you take a hit? And you want to be smart, and like, you're not letting these guys get shelled all the time, but you got to figure out, hey, is your defense actually tackling? And so they went live. They had some live periods on Saturday.
Yeah.
With everybody but the quarterbacks and the student appreciation, which was good because you've got to see like the I got him tackle, like that's good until you don't got him. And so you've got to actually watch these guys come out there, see them make the tackles. You want to see if your running backs, can Peoples, can Donaldson, can these guys run through some arm tackles? Because on the tape, you're like, yeah, this guy's coming at an angle, like he's not gonna be able to get you, or yeah, coach, I got him, I can juke him, like he's not gonna be able to get me down. All right, well, is all that weight room, because that's where the weight room pays off, Schlegs, the balance, the individual leg explosion. Can you pull through those tackles? Like, will that matter? But then the quarterbacks, like livening those guys up. Can you take a hit? Can you get back up? Do you jog back to the huddle? What do you say to your offensive line, Schlegs, after you just got smoked? Hey, man, are we getting beat? Like, are guys getting beat up front? Or is a back getting beat? Or did we misidentify something and got fooled and they had free runners? Did we miss somebody that we should have thrown hot off of? Or did we not get the protection to where we needed to get to? And the guy should have been blocked, but he ultimately wasn't. And so those are the things as a quarterback, how do you respond in the next play? And so Lincoln Keenol's had some of that in that Cotton Bowl. Now, I say some, he had a lot of it.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
A lot of it. A joke. I mean, People say, oh, he was a baptism, get some work with a rush. I'm like, work with a rush? And that dude was on a firing squad the whole game. But you worry there's two things that can come of that. It can harden you a little bit, and you got used to some of those reps, so it could be an advantage. But also sometimes then, what's that next rep look like? Does it speed the clock up in your mind? Because you're a product, like you're a sum of your life's experiences. So if you're getting hit a lot, that can be a good thing that, hey, you can handle it. And I always say this with Shedeur Sanders. People can say whatever they want about him as a player, person, whatever. I do know this. That dude took a lot of shots and he hung in the pocket. He delivered the football. Like, I didn't see him yelling at his offensive linemen, throwing guys under the bus. And so being able to do that matters a lot too. And so seeing this with these guys at Ohio State, have they been able to do this? Have they been able to handle it? I think there's a little bit of advantage to Lincoln being in that. And it's an eye-opening experience because then also, Schlegs, like you talk about working in the weight room as a quarterback, being physically bigger is going to help you take some of those big shots as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where, Bob, I mean, I remember when Julian came in, I was like, man, we all saw the ability to deliver the football, but he's also like 190 pounds. I think now he's like 210, 215. He's like put on some serious size, but it takes time, man. It takes time. These guys, I mean, you need the work, and that's what you get. And hell, man, you got a condensed offseason this last year. That's why it was so important for these younger guys too to even understand, like throughout the season, like I got to continue to develop because I got guys that are playing significantly more snaps than I. Like, how do I continue to bridge my gap in my game and the things that I need? But you're absolutely right, Bob. It's not like we want our guys to go out there. And I thought our offensive line did a great job all year of being able to allow our quarterbacks to step up in the pocket and not necessarily take that punishment that you see other places. But it also served the fact that your quarterback was 235, 240 pounds. I mean, that was one of the biggest attributes of Will is that he didn't take sacks. Like he could break some sacks and make it a positive. Not like he was going to just outrun everybody, but like he could move the sticks and like do that. That was a competitive advantage for him. So with these guys now, to your point of like live contact and stuff, are you able to, handle yourself? What are you going to say? How are you going to move the sticks? Like that's what they want to see. Do you have complete control of the offense? That's what they're looking for. In order to have complete control of the offense, you have to have great football acumen and you got to be able to bounce back. And remember this, man, it is all on you. It is all on you. And can you say, hey, I got this? Like, I got you. I will protect. Like, because you know the nuance of the game and what people are doing. Where is your outlet receiver, et cetera? And who is that guy going against? Like, yeah, man, you might have to divert it because that guy's screaming around there. We already heard Ian Moore talk about trying to block Velli off the edge. Oh, shit, I see Velli over there. Guess what? I'm going hot to you, bro. I got you. Don't worry about it. Here we go. Ready, break. And that's what coaches want to see. Like, that's the presence you want from your quarterback.
Absolutely. All right, we'll put a little pin in that. That was some good talk there on the quarterback talk. I know everybody loves it. They want to talk about the quarterbacks all the time. But I want to talk a little bit. Tress, we always pull these nugget Schlegs. It's all about the team. Because I think he's got some of the best wisdom as far as coaching, dealing with how to be a leader, families, all of that stuff. We're going to dive into that here coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and a great conversation about some quarterback talk, the battle between Lincoln and Julian. Heck, you throw Tavian in there, and he's getting baptized by fire. This guy's getting some big shots, some live action. Really, tomorrow's practice, Tuesday's kind of the culmination, it's kind of the final one, because then I believe you just have practice on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah,
on Friday.
Thursday, I think, yeah.
Thursday, and then you got the coaches clinic and everything on Friday, and then you got the game. And so it's kind of it. Like spring ball has come and spring ball will have gone. And Ryan talked about this a lot. Are you taking advantage of it? Do you show up here every day as a pro ready to compete? Or are you just coming out here going through the motions trying to get through another practice? Because a lot of these guys are in these position battles right now, Schlegs, and this stuff is paramount to their success. They've got to go out here and be able to win and be able to have success on a daily basis if you want to earn that trust. And they talk about their components of trust and competency and, consistency, connection, all this different, the C's of trust. And you've got to go out and you've got to do that every single day. But I want to get to this with Tress, talking about behind every coach and just some of his thoughts when it comes to coaching and the pressures of it and families and the communication element and everything else?
You always have to remember we're such in the midst of the fray. And when things don't go perfect and the people on the outside, want to comment on that and so forth, usually we're so busy as coaches that we don't even notice it. But our families, really are on the front line. And especially in this day and age of social media. And, I know you have young children, and my kids didn't have to grow up with anyone tweeting about how dumb their dad was, and, all that kind of stuff. And it takes a special team at home in this, very visible world of college athletics.
I thought I saw that. I was like, man, just something that kind of Ryan's been talking about, and he doesn't, and he said he was on the morning juice with me, and it's like, coaches, this is what you get paid for. This is Jack, I think, even addressed
Jack
it with
said it. No, he did, man.
Jack addressed it with us, and with Ryan, he's like, I get paid to do this. This is fine. Like, this is what I've got big shoulders to be able to handle this. But your family, they know what comes with it, but maybe not to the degree, or maybe it shouldn't be to that extreme. And that's something now, because when you're a coach, this, Schlegs, you were there, you're inundated. And even to the players, to a certain extent, you're working. It's all there all the time. Players probably hear a little bit more than the coaches because they have a little bit more free time. But your families, they're around, they're in the community, they've got things going on. So you hear a lot of it. And whether it's your wife, your kids, like, that's a whole nother element. And it's something that didn't exist to the degree that it does before, and how that impacts them. And in turn, Schlegs, like, how that ultimately impacts you.
Yeah. Well, especially when you are the provider or you're the protector of the family. And that's what's difficult. And, they're my kids. So it's like, did they really sign up for this? Like, dad signed up for it, but did you? And like, how do you mitigate that? And then take it from the player's perspective. Like, I mean, hell, what did we have back then? Like Bucknuts, right? Like, that's the only bad stuff. There might have been message boards back then, Bob. But it's like, you ain't getting on the message board. Like, I don't care. I don't care what people say, but it's different now with social media and the comments and the stuff that people put out there. And that anybody can get on there and just say whatever they want to say, and not being able to take it to heart because they don't know you. They don't know the situation. They don't know whatever. So that's why the culture that is at Ohio State is so paramount with the success of everybody. And there was a great clip, and I didn't save it or put it in the chat, Bob.
Why
But
not?
somebody put it out there.
Why don't you want to share it with the folks, Schlegs?
Well,
Share the nuggets.
I forgot it, but I forgot to do the Doomajig. But here's the deal. It was, I think, Arvell, CJ, and Jermaine were on the sideline, and like they were just like super hyped up. They weren't even in. And the defense was, I think, made a stop or whatever. Probably in that live situation, I think they were going into, the basketball court that's there in the back of the Woody. And they were just hyped up, man, and they were juicing. You could feel the energy. And that, when I saw that, I automatically went back. Energy, enthusiasm, effort, right? Or enthusiasm, energy, and effort, what Mick talks about all the time. And that's what it is about. You know what I mean? It's like within the building, your guys build you up and they're champion for each other. When you have a healthy culture. I remember this last year, Bob, when Will Howard went out of the game and Devin Brown came in for one play in the Michigan State game and threw that ball to JJ, like on the sideline for a touchdown. And everybody was just going absolutely crazy. Yes, it was a freak of a catch, but it was one play, Kenny Guyton-esque, of Devin Brown. And everybody was going nuts for him, man. That's a healthy culture. That's a healthy competitive environment when we are there rooting for each other. We know we want to be the starter. We all do. But we have a culture that's built around, like Jack talked about, love, competitive excellence, right? You have people that are champion for you when you're out there because you ultimately know that guy being at his best version of himself makes me have to be the best version of myself. Collectively, when we do that, we can achieve great things. That's what you're seeing at Ohio State. And that's why I just love spring football the way that it is, because we get to see those elements come out. And it is a learned experience process. I think that at the college level, remember, the college level, we're not developing grown men that are in the NFL during an OTA. We are still working on 18 to 22-year-olds. And so I just think it's one of the best parts about live bullet spring football.
Absolutely. It's what you love, Schlegs. It's what you're here for. It's fun stuff to see. Don't forget to share the nuggets with the people, though.
I'm sorry.
Make sure you're giving them, You just want to. You just
There was
want
a
to.
guy, I think his last name was King. So, hey, kudos to that guy.
Oh, there it
Who's
is.
coming
Look
in.
at that, Schlegs. They found Adam King.
Oh,
All those dudes down there getting
oh,
hyped up. Well, I mean, it's big. Like it's cool, and you're watching that energy go back and forth, and the excitement. I think I was actually over there right behind him at that point in time during practice. Like it was a pretty cool
look at him.
experience.
Look at him, man.
Yeah. And those guys, they're all about it, man. Like they're all about it, and like they're all in on it. And it's great to see, James out there and getting them all juiced up with them. But those guys, and they're doing so much different stuff. They didn't show a ton at student appreciation, but they've got a whole bag of tricks that are ultimately out there that everybody wants to see. And everybody's really excited to see because when you have unique players like that, and you start talking about Arvell Reese, we'll have a bigger conversation about that later. But I always talk about like the versatility. If you're a good coach and you have versatility with players, man, you can do a lot of stuff, and it makes it really, really hard on the offense then to look at that and be able to solve some of those problems. All right, Colorado had a pro day, or was their spring game, whatever it is. I think that the pro day up there. We'll talk about that in the headlines. Then also a couple silver bullets of the day. Who are the top performers on the defense? And who's going out there and playing and maybe making a little bit of noise? Well, we'll find out next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And it's our headlines where we run down some of the biggest stories with Buckeye football, college football, all across the country. And they're going to be brought to you by our friends, Lake Spur Marketing. They're a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance. Listen, they're not going to sell you a bill of goods. They're not going to try to tell you things that aren't necessarily true just because it might feel good. They're going to shield you and your team from the outside noise, from the cold callers. They're going to let you do what's best, and that is run your business. Like you always say this, you can't work in the business and on the business. They've got more than 100 years of marketing experience. Lake Spur Marketing eliminates the waste, delivers on the budget, which is always key. They don't chase the clicks. They build the partnerships you're looking for. The proof is in the partners with our friends over at Lake Spur Marketing. All right, let's throw up some of this stuff here from Colorado. I always like to talk about what Coach Prime is doing over there. I mean, he's pushing the envelope. I think he's good for college football because he just gets people to think. He gets people to talk. He's bringing in, some different things and some different stuff, Pat. So, let's toss up a little bit of the pro day of what Shador was looking like over there.
I like how everybody was talking about this. They're like, yeah, a lot of double pats, and like stuff like that. I'm like, come on, man.
Well, and that's their job, Schlegs, is to break it down critically and to look at him. And, it's
that's
like,
their job.
and I tell all the guys that are leaving, especially the guys that you're looking at going in, the top 100 picks, especially the first round, their job is to find reasons not to draft you.
Exactly.
So you need to try to eliminate those reasons. And so whether it's the double pat, they want to make sure that your technique, your fundamentals, everything, Schlegs, is as tight as it can be. All right. You don't want it loose like a wizard sleeve out there. You want that thing super tight, ready to go. I know you're picking up what I'm putting down, so that's pretty key. Absolutely. My man Borat knows about all that. But you want to make sure that that you're locked in. Like I think Shador, I like him a little better than Cam Ward. I don't think any of the quarterbacks in this class are just lock, surefire dudes that are going to be successful at the next level. But you want to make sure that you're not giving them any of that. And I know it was a lot of buzz. And for Colorado, I mean, this is the first time they've had first-round guys, especially at big-time skill positions, a quarterback in some time. So I'm sure that there was an element there that they're trying to prepare and a uniqueness to that pro day that they hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah, I mean, and Travis Hunter, right, Heisman Trophy winner, running routes as well. There was like a back and forth on that. And I want to go back to like, yes, Bob, we saw this, man. Like we talked about, like Shador's kind of a tough guy because I mean, he got hit a lot, man. Like I think he led all college football the previous year in like sacks. I mean, there wasn't a lot of stuff up front that was protecting him, and he was still able to deliver. They went 4-8 that year. This year, they come back. They have a significantly better year. We're there at the very end in the mix to win the Big 12. Didn't get it done, but you saw enough. And to your point, are they him and Kim Ward like bona fide? Like this is going to be a game changer type dude? I don't know. To be determined. But the depth of the class is a little bit different. I think there's more in those middle rounds. But I want to talk about what Primus has done for college football. He is, and you and I have talked about this at nauseam, Bob. He has 100% bona fide showed that college football and athletics, depending upon what kind of school you are, is the front porch of the university, because Colorado influx of new students went up like exponentially. I mean, like 1,000% or something like
Oh yeah,
that.
their
Season,
admissions, their applications went through the roof.
boom, right? Guess what? Season tickets sold out, right? I mean, quick. It goes back to Ohio State in this, and like, what is it that we're doing? How do we work through some of these different things? And I'm not going to talk about what you and I talk about, Bob, but the perception of what your program does, and it hits right back on this fandom aspect. Because if you're a fan of that school, you might want to like go to that school and look at that school because you like what that school kind of embodies. And the first impression of that, they ain't walking to Oval, they ain't going to like Mirror Lake and stuff. They're all the way down in Tejas, but you know what they do know? They do know that you have great defense and Andy Katzenmore and, mirrored line, like visors and stuff. That's badass. Like that's the first taste of it.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's just, I like what he does. And he gets people thinking like, hey, why can't we scrimmage somebody else? Why can't we do, like during camp, like it's like a live scrimmage with another team to get our guys prepared. I love the way that he thinks and pushes the envelope, because he's had a lot of naysayers, but he's just been about doing what he is that he thinks is right by his guys. So, anyways, probably why you and I, talk about him more than we should.
Oh, and he's great. And then I want to get this because this is a guy I really respect, Steve Smith, NFL Network, breaking down some of Travis Hunter's routes
Yeah.
and kind of talking about it, because I always thought he'd be a better DB, but then people start talking about him now as potentially a better receiver. And, he's a little bit raw on some things, but here's Steve Smith breaking down Travis Hunter.
He's good. One thing I would say is when he was sitting down, he put his hands backwards, which would indicate to the defender that he was going to break down. So I need him to keep both his hands moving. But he'll learn that as he hones in on his craft more and more in the league, he'll be fine. That's why he most likely will have to play one position primarily so he can master his craft.
That's a little nugget. Like when you talk about what makes wide receivers coaches good, like that's Steve Smith, NFL wide receiver, talking about, hey, you start putting your hands back. There's DBs can see that you're starting to throttle. You're shifting your weight back in your body position. Like that's something that Hartline, you watch him run the routes and teach these guys like all of those different tricks and nuances. He always has that stuff out there. He always has it ready to go. And so they're always working on that. So those guys are very polished. And that's what it means. Like, what does it mean to be polished? Well, it's not just having great athletes. It's the way they run their routes and how they understand to get in and out of their breaks. And they're never tipping their hand. So pretty nice stuff there.
Hey, Bob, can I hop in for like 30
go for
seconds? He said you can't be a, jack of all trades and master of none. They don't pay those type of guys. He's absolutely correct. But the biggest thing is this, too. That is a select few when we're talking about the draft, guys. We're talking about the guys that are bona fide first and second rounders, like being that. But you go down that draft, you better be a jack of all trades, because the number one thing is to make a roster, to then be able to become a master. I just want you guys to understand that. Like, too many times we were like, hey, I only play tackle. I'm talking youth athletics and all those type of things. The thing should be the best football player and teammate that you could possibly be, to add the most value. And then once you get siloed into, I am that tackle, or I am that wide receiver, then guess what? Hone in on what that is, because they pay those people to do those things. But when you're trying to make a roster, you can't let that identity be, hey, I am only this. The identity should be, I got to be the best football player possible. And that is my conversations when I have with guys that aren't necessarily in those top two rounds. It's like the 3 and below. That's what you got to do. Just want to throw that nugget.
Well, we got a couple of silver bullets of the day, Schlegs, as well, coming off of the weekend. Want to make sure we get these guys credits, because people always say like, who's working, who's looking good, who's doing some good stuff out there, who's making plays. And well, I want to make sure that we're giving those guys credit for some good stuff last week. As we toss this up, he's still wearing the 24 because it's last year's season. But Jermaine Matthews playing corner, looking really good. They've been moving around, doing some different stuff with him because he's a veteran now. Like, dude, you got to be able to handle more stuff. We got to be able to give more things to you on your plate. And then Caden Curry, who I think has gotten lost a little bit because publicly, not within the building, but everyone's talked so much about CJ Hicks. And Slags, you and I have talked about how well he's done and what he can bring to the table. And then also you start talking, Logan came in as well, Kenyatta Jackson. Like, they've got a lot of talented guys, but Caden Curry is a dude that's just always around the ball and always, and that's been the case since the jump when he got here. Day one, he's a dude that is around the ball all the time, and very, very impressive with that. So super impressed. Just want to make sure that those guys get the recognition they deserve. So that you're wondering who's playing well in the spring. Well, on the defensive side, Schlegs, you can tell because they go out there and they give you the silver bullet of the day, which means you've been doing something right. All right, coming up next, we got some tailgate talk. We're going to dive in. We got some comments, Schlegs, that I was looking at. We had Bill Bender on Thursday, and we were talking about what makes the fandom there, like how you can be a fan. And is your parents going to the school? Is it you going to the school? Are you from the state? Do you live 60 miles of campus? All of these different things. There's some nice comments that people threw out there for us, just giving their personal stories. We'll touch on that here coming up next. All right, welcome back in to the Bobby Carpenter Show. And we got our tailgate talk brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. Bring your truck, Jeep, Bronco to life at realtruck.com. It is the spring now, so it's time to get out there and get this stuff going and get it cooking and make sure that you have your vehicle in tip-top shape. So go check them out at realtruck.com. So I saw this one, and this is tremendous. It's a whole narrative that my man wrote. He said, I lived here in Columbus my entire life, but I've been to all of the lower 48 states while being a truck driver the last 15 years. But that thing blew my mind that no matter what state I was in, while I was representing the Buckeyes with a shirt, hat, or whatever, someone would always, and I mean always everywhere, give you an OH and throw that out. I'd give them an IO back because that's just what Buckeyes do. As Schleich says, you got to be down with your boys and be Waffle House ready. And whether that's with your boys at 2 a.m. in a Waffle House or whether you're a true Buckeye fan, got to be ready no matter the situation. In fact, one night in Western Texas on the border of New Mexico, I feel like we're in a George Strait song right here, walked into a real country bar. And by the end of the night, I had one of the 6-year-old men asking if he could wear my OSU hat. And I said, on one condition, you let me wear your cowboy hat. So while he was there, about 50 couples on the dance floor, two-stepping to George Strait, I was walking up to every female, tipping my hat and asking, man, would you like to dance? Even though a few of the cowgirls wanted to, all they said, smiled and said no. While I had met 3 players and played for Texas Tech, and honestly, they were real Cowboys, considered me their little Buckeye buddy. I had them all 3 ready to transfer to be Buckeyes after explaining them during until the next morning what exactly it truly means to be a Buckeye in the brotherhood and how it changed their lives in ways they just couldn't understand.
That's awesome, man. That sounds like a Chris Ledoux song. Is who you're trying to reference there, Bob. That'd be amazing. Yeah, matter of fact, side note, he's got a great song called "The Cowboy Hat." You should hit that up on the old iTunes. Really good.
But that's one of the things that it's always interesting is like you go anywhere in the lower 48, as he talked about. You throw an OH out there, there's almost always a Buckeye, regardless of what airport I've been, where I've been around the country. There's always someone there. And then, the last piece of it, one more from Stan, the Buckeye man, and he's from down from where my wife's from, so he's got a little bit of love for down on the river. Said, I'm a huge OSU football fan. I have 6 good season tickets. However, in basketball, I'm all on Kentucky, growing up in Southern Ohio, close to the Kentucky border, having a dad that grew up right across the river from Portsmouth. That's just the way I was raised. I do go to OSU basketball games, as well as OSU women's basketball games. I went to all 4 of the football playoff games this season. I also went to 3 Kentucky basketball games this year, including the NCAA tournament loss in Indianapolis to Tennessee. And I think you see that sometimes down at the bottom of Ohio. You get Buckeye fans on the football side, and then maybe some Big Blue or maybe some Cincinnati or something on the basketball side. So those allegiances are just a little bit interesting sometimes with how that all shakes out. All right, that's it for this edition of Tailgate Talk, brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. Thank you for the great comments as we dive into those. And Schlegs, now coming up next, we're going to wrap up the show with your parting thoughts here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, Schlegs, floor is yours. You got about a minute.
So what this is, guys, it's a preference. This guy was talking about, he's Arizona Cardinal. They're like, hey, why'd you sign before free agency hit?
Why sign before free agency and have to see what your value was in the market?
I mean, if you got a girlfriend who's a 10, why play around?
He's like, hey, man, well, guess what? When you got a girlfriend and she's a 10 out of 10,
what
do you do?
So it's Baron Browning. He re-signed
exactly.
with Arizona, Buckeye, down there with the Cardinals. And they said, why did you re-sign with Arizona before even hitting free agency. He goes, if you got a girl that's 10 out of 10, he said, why are you waiting? He goes, you just marry her.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. And that's the same thing. And the reason I wanted everybody to see this was because Barron probably could have got more value somewhere else by hitting the free agency market. But when you love an organization and they pay you fairly, Bob and I talk about this all the time in doing business, but like the pay is fair. I love being here. I'm going to sign. Like you're seeing more and more of that with the guys that are coming into Ohio State. Hey, bro, it's a 10 out of 10. Why wouldn't I want to go there?
all right.
That's why I'm done.
Well, that's it for that. That's it for this edition of the Bobby Carpenter Show. Stay locked in tomorrow. We'll see you around noonish on Tuesday.